Hey everyone, it's Wilka Nascimento here. I am the Leadership Talks podcast host, and today we're doing a live interview with Jeremy Huvard. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yay!
So excited to be here.
I am super excited. We were discussing offline, how did we meet, how did we come up on the industry, and it's just so interesting, right? Like the backgrounds, like, oh, maybe I was the account manager and now, no, maybe we met during an event. Mm-hmm. But, I wanted to actually, Jeremy, give a brief, introduction of your career for the future, hospitality professionals. So please, share your experience with us.
Sure. So right now I'm the Regional Director of Sales and Marketing for Donohoe Hospitality here in Washington, D.C. I do sales, marketing, revenue for 4 hotels in Southwest D.C. Prior to that, I've been Director of Sales and a number of that sort of job with Donohoe at multiple different hotels. And before that, a bunch of different places doing hospitality sales. I'm a graduate of Virginia Tech's hospitality school, and then from there right into the industry. I worked in some tertiary markets like Richmond, Virginia, and then traveled out to San Antonio, Texas, and sold rooms on the Riverwalk, which was awesome. Great food there. Williamsburg, Virginia, eventually found my way up here to DC.
Wow, amazing. I like to highlight that DC also has amazing, restaurant scene, all of a bunch of Michelin star restaurants.
I gotta give it up to DC, the food is good here as well.
Very eclectic, very international. Well, I wanted to pick your brain and just to see, because you are basically in the ground, right? And you have a sales team in all of those hotels. So what are you seeing, the trends, for the year? It's more of, domestic folks, now we are starting Q2. I know DC, everybody's excited for the Cherry Blossom Festival, but I wanted to, hear from your thoughts.
Sure. Right now, market's still pretty strong. There's some, I guess we'll call it uncertainty around the government sector, and depending on your exposure, maybe a little more uncertain in some places than others. But it seems like big events like Cherry Blossom still bringing people out, spring break, people still visiting. So not a dire emergency by any means down in this area. I think that the future leisure travel, it looks pretty good right now. Pace looks okay. So fingers crossed, it seems like we're all right.
And with that, I like to mention too, like this area where we are right now, Southeast DC, there is the brand new wharf, right? Like all of the restaurants and the attractions. I remember when my mom visited me from Brazil, she was like, oh my gosh, I love this. How come you didn't bring me here before? And I was like, Mom, okay, there's so many places for you to visit and explore in the city, in different neighborhoods. So do you think, like the wharf in the newest, restaurants bringing people as well?
Oh, absolutely. The wharf development is amazing. A bunch of things just opened there. Fogo de Chao is now down there,
Yay!
Which is beautiful and delicious.
Brazilian food.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
So Southwest is really neat because you can kind of walk that way, or you can walk to the National Mall. You got a lot of options. It's a wonderful spot to work in and around hotels in DC. I love it down here.
Yeah, and I also, one of the things, because I was on property as well, since, I think 2017 when I moved here from New York City, and one of the, surprises, very delightful surprises that I found in DC was the access, right, like to the international businesses with the embassies. So I was really involved because I also see the Destination DC has been supporting the open houses with, the embassies and other organizations, that are also preparing for that event. I was a volunteer, for like 2 years in a row. I'm not sure about this year yet because there's so many plans, on travel and so forth. But I really think DC is an eclectic market. But one thing that caught my mind that you mentioned, that you graduated for Virginia Tech, was in hospitality.
It was. Yep,
Okay.
Hospitality major. Before it was, what it is today, I suppose. I think I started the school and it was a HR major, and then it ended a business major. But yeah, it was wonderful. I learned how to cook, in addition to, all of the business acumen that you kind of need to get a foothold into sales offices and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and I actually love, that part of the area in the States. Virginia Tech is being big too. Like, I also had many other encounters and appearances even, in hospitality education within Howard County as well. But I wanted to, get your thoughts about throughout your career. Have you had a mentor?
I've had a bunch of different mentors at different stages in my careers. I've been fortunate enough to work with some really amazing people, and you absolutely need to have those people just because of how hotels function. There's not the same career path that you find in other types of business, where you do this, you go to this, the next thing is this. There's a less clear path in hotels, so having someone to show you how to do things, give you the opportunity to do things and learn, is so necessary to get that experience and that knowledge in this business. You just have to have it.
Yeah, and I remember also back in college in Brazil, I didn't know exactly if I was going to end up in hotels, but hey, I think life, and of course the great mentors that I've had, actually huge shout out to Wes Santos, right? He was my fantastic operations manager at the Hyatt Place White House, where I worked with him. And actually that broadened my career really in terms of how that, DC as a market, it's a main focus for major, hospitality management organizations. So I really think that once you make it, right, like it's not just in New York. If you make it here, you can make it anywhere, but also in DC, because you get the foot in the door and you make it happen, right? Like either with government, and of course, you work with your relationships. But if you could, tell your young self, hey, you should go this way, not turn that, not make that turn. Would you change anything, or would you make different decisions?
That's, I try not to live with regrets, right? So I'm by no means, unhappy with how things have turned out and how my career and life have gone. So I don't think so. I may have taken more risks earlier, as far as moving forward in my career and taking on different positions. I may have done that, but I don't think that any of the roles and responsibilities I was fortunate enough to have were unnecessary, or something that I would be able to do what I do now without having had the opportunity to do.
Perfect. Yeah, I think for me, one advice that I would give my young self is, once you are with one brand, stick with that, right? Because with that brand you can learn to a full service, right? But every time that I changed brands, from Hilton to Marriott to a full service to a limited service, like I had to start over. So one huge tip for you guys, if you wanted to progress a little faster, stick with your brand. But again, my young self, I wanted to explore and live in different cities. I had experience in New York, in California. So you get that learning curve. But hey, also I think everything happens for a reason, right? But now, Jeremy, tell me, because I just saw you back in January, and I was super happy for you with the new, position with HSMAI. So now you are the current president for 2025. And how did that come about?
They, had an opening as the previous president. His 2-year tenure was up. We talked about it, and I put my name in the hat, and that's the way it ended up going, which is awesome. It's definitely not a role that I've had before, so really excited for it. It's such a great organization, such a necessary thing to have in your city. It is a wonderful opportunity that I just couldn't be more grateful for it. It's a very much a challenge, but it's one that I'm enjoying.
And actually, for people that are watching or listening to the podcast that is not familiar with the organization, Jeremy, give us, a little bit of a brief, explanation on what does it involve.
Sure. It's Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International, and it is hospitality industry folks, and it is primarily an education based organization that will get you the knowledge and networking necessary to push forward and really develop yourself as a hospitality professional in the sales, marketing, and revenue disciplines. It is probably one of the best organizations you can join as a young hospitality professional. It's your peers. They're very much, how do I say it? It's an organization that is driven from within, so you get a real chance to contribute, to meet all these people that you might not know in advanced roles. It is a great way to really pick up both educational knowledge and kind of peer-to-peer, passed on experiential knowledge.
And I want to say, also when I came to DC, I strongly believe that we met through a networking event at HSMAI.
Yeah.
But it's not just, it's interesting when people, I had a GM one time and he was asking, why, Wilka, you're a director of sales, why you're going with your sales manager? It's like, okay, let me explain to you. There's so much networking, right? Like you can talk about with, like even at the education training, you learn about AI, how can you get XYZ group that was in another market, but now they decided to have their meeting in DC, and different organizations also in the hospitality industry that are coming to speak on those events. Mm-hmm. So I think, like just the networking aspect and being that, peer-to-peer, like I saw a person that I went on a training for IHG back in like 9 years ago. I reconnected with her during a HSMAI event. So it's literally, the industry needs the associations. I really think, the events, because also I believe I saw yesterday that you already have another one rollout networking event in April. And somebody from my team already sent me, Wilka, there is this event in May. I'm like, I'm attending, guys, I'll be there. But, I think being present in those industry events, there are so many organizations, MPI, HSMAI, Concierge Travel Association, Destination DC. But I think you gotta pick and choose what you're looking to do, right? If you're just looking for the networking, maybe you get those calendars in place and set yourself up for success. But I wanted to hear, Jeremy, from you, your experiences in terms of now, social media, right? The personal brand, because I believe you know, my question earlier about how did it came about the presidency, it doesn't just happen, oh, you know, I'm gonna put my name out there and I'm gonna be the next president. So you need to have your brand with your peers, right? And you need to show support through the organization as well. So, you know, for the folks that are watching right now, what is your thoughts, you know, for sales and marketing folks in the hotels on personal branding?
Super important. And not in the kind of, you know, cheesy, you have to be out there constantly, you have to have an opinion on everything type of way, but in the way that you curate your professional image, you have to be somewhat mindful and cognizant, I feel like. You know, you want to be ultimately a subject matter expert on whatever it is that you specialize in, and that, you know, transfer of knowledge should happen through your social media, and the image that you curate on the various platforms should work in support of that. So, you know, quality over quantity, always ethical, and yeah, just use it as a means to give back whatever it is that you've pulled out of your experience, so that, you know, the folks that interact with you on those platforms have the opportunity to learn from you.
Amazing. I couldn't have said better. You know, just be ethical. I like this very much because, you know, I believe in the industry there is a lot of people out there, right? And I remember even when I started with this podcast, you know, some folks, oh, you're making, a video of the breakfast. And I'm like, guys, this is hotel branding, right? Like, I don't care if my breakfast is a buffet, hot breakfast from XYZ brand, but I'm showing how good we are. Because we as managers, we are present, we're talking to guests, right? So I think there is a misconception sometimes, not just from, you know, maybe a peer or so, because I invested in a camera that I connected to my phone, which I've learned about this, it's DJI camera, through a networking person that came to the hotel during a fam trip.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I need that for me, for my hotel. And she was recording, you know, it was super high quality, and I was like, this is fantastic. But, you know, those details, I think sometimes folks are forgetting, forgive me to say this, but, you know, you have your phone and it's a tool in your hands, right? Like, you have your phone, folks these days, everybody, right? It's on LinkedIn, everybody is on TikTok, you know, the next generation of travelers, how are they booking travel, right? And one thing that I like to highlight is sometimes when your way of booking travel, because you're looking for a family getaway, maybe be a different way for a solo traveler,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a different way for, you know, my young sister that is 25 years old. So travel evolution, I think, has changed. It's shaping the future. But my question to you is, where do you see this travel and AI, you know, helping literally the director of sales, the revenue folks that are like working in the hotels?
I think that it hopefully gives us a little bit of time back, that we can better spend, you know, interacting with our clients and guests and team members. I can only really speak from my experience in using it to craft some types of messages. I feel like I'm a better editor than I am a content creator. You know, it is going to be what you make of it, because it learns from all of the things that we give it. So hopefully it doesn't become the thing that sells guest rooms, because that would be bad for me. but you know, if it wants to help and offer some insight into pricing and availability, then I'm totally for that. I think that, you know, there's a little bit of art and science in everything that we do in hotels,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's so people-based. So any help we get on the science side, you know, gives us more time to spend on the art side. You can't replace the humans, but especially in hospitality. But you can help us, push forward. So I think that that's what it's going to do. It's going to augment, what we already do, and allow us a bit more time for what's really important.
Amazing. Yes, definitely. I think that fear of, oh, this is going to take my job, it's, outdated. For me, even when I was, again, back with experience, I think we started like a text bot, for the guests. And I was like, okay, somebody actually needs to look at the test, right? Like, and actually if a guest requests, I don't know, extra towels at 2:00 in the morning, that needs to be happening, right? Delivering for the nighttime managers or staff or the team overall. I really like the new hotels. Like, I stayed in a hotel in Dubai, actually, because internationally folks are using super apps so much, right? Like, this lady though, she was a personal, I don't know if because they saw the way that I did my reservation, or why she introduced herself that she was the personal concierge. And then she walked me to see my room, and I said, oh, I need a view, right? I'm here celebrating my birthday, and I throw that out there, right? I need a view. By the time we got to the room, she already had a welcome, cake for me. And I was like, oh my God, you're like super fast.
Wow.
I couldn't keep up with her, just, chatting at the elevator, we were going like on I think it was like the 30th floor or something like that. But I was impressed, and the tool she used to communicate with me as guest was WhatsApp. And, for Brazilians in Brazil too, they do business, like the tours and all of that, they send you confirmations of your pickup time or why not through WhatsApp.
Wow.
And I was very surprised. And I was like, yeah, we don't use, that app in the United States with those business purpose, Even, to talk a little bit further on this, you can make doctor appointments using WhatsApp. And I was like, wow, this is actually, how things actually flow and works in other countries. It's really interesting because it brings you that new idea of how business is conducted, not just in the hospitality, but in other sectors as well.
Yeah, we're never catching up with doctor's appointments on WhatsApp. They're way too far ahead if they've got that.
I did schedule a dentist.
Oh my gosh.
For me when I was in Brazil for like a very crazy time, because I was, in a short period of visiting in my hometown. So I was like, my gosh, this is so amazing. It's a success story for, the dentist and so forth. But I think also, coming back to DC, it's growing, right? Like, I can't say enough in terms of gentrification, right? The areas, and even, in this neighborhood, not just with the Wharf, but I think other hotel brands popped up as well. But I'm very eager, to get maybe, an inside info from you on what you're seeing, because you've been here in the industry longer than I have. Do you think we should expect, a busy summer here in DC from your, ears in the city?
I certainly hope so. Not just cherry blossoms at the kind of start of the warm season, but we have World Pride here over Memorial Day in early June. The Nats concert series is pretty crazy this year. There's all sorts of stuff at Cap One. Beyonce is coming on the 4th of July.
I didn't see that.
It's going to be wild, I think. Like Shakira is here in early June at Audi Field. There's going to be a ton to do. There always is. The Nats will be playing. There'll be soccer at Audi Field.
Amazing. Yeah, DC also, I love to say that you can see so many sports out here, you can participate. Like I took my mentor last year. He came to visit during summer, and we went to see a game at Cap One. And he was like, "Oh wow, this is a real." I was like, "Yeah, this is the real deal, right? Like you're in DC. It's not Madison Square Garden that you saw whatever concert back in in the 80s when you visited from Brazil. But hey, I think we have nothing short, right? And I also wanted to give a shout out to Destination DC because I think they do an amazing work promoting the city throughout the world and in different offices. But to, in a nutshell here, Jeremy, to close out, any final thoughts of, where the hospitality industry is going? And again, I think this is a way for us to inspire people that are joining the industry. But, go ahead, the mic is yours.
Sure. Thank you again for having me. This is such a cool experience. I think that the hospitality is just going to keep growing. Hotels, restaurants, travel, everybody loves to go and do that. So as long as they're able, they will continue to do it. This industry is traditionally, I feel like, lagged behind a bit in like the technology and the different, business information platforms and things like that. But that's changing. There are very few areas left where it's not state of the art, basically everything. So don't feel like you have to just do the customer service aspect. There's jobs associated with all of it on the tech side. If that's your niche, young people that can use a computer are necessary for the business moving forward. And it's just a great time. There's pressure like any business, but it's a people business at the end of the day. And you get so much exposure to all the fun stuff that we talked about, world-class sports and entertainment. It's never going away. Come join the party and work with us.
Yay! And I love when you said it's a people-to-people business and the relationships, right? But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for having me as well, and for being here at the Leadership Talks podcast. Thank you, everybody.